high wind. Okay guys, we got this pretty well sorted now. I got this hooked up and 2 wires in the back, and I got the bottom wire fed through, and I have the USB routed. We'll kind of clean that up a little bit, you know, at some point. Right now we're gonna get the underhood connections off and splice in the Banks connectors, and then we're gonna go for a drive. So see you in a second. Okay guys, the manifold air pressure sensor is done. It was easy as a click. You push in with your knife, screwdriver, whatever, on this little tab right here. This is mounted this way. You push in from the outside and pull back, and you just simply put their connections in right there. They popped right in. I'm sure these are OEM connectors. They literally slid right in. Now we're gonna do the fuel rail pressure sensor. Okay, last but not least, we have a fuel rail pressure sensor. She's down there underneath the blue intercooler tube. Oh Lord, I've already unplugged it right there. And it goes into the rail way down there. So this is gonna be a handful. Of course, like all these, I'm just gonna film it when it's done as opposed to during it, because I only have 2 hands. So, see you in a second. All right guys, I just finished the underhood portion of it. I got it routed back here. I'm gonna zip tie it down on top of this fuse box, I think. And then I'm gonna coil up the lines right here beside the battery, hooked up by the coolant. And then I have these run up against the positive line, down like this, protected here. And then the fuel rail one goes straight down behind the positive line to the fuel rail. Then this one runs straight across, and I'm gonna zip tie it in a couple places up over to the map sensor. All in all, it's pretty easy. The top sensor was obviously the easiest. The fuel rail pressure sensor was a little bit, I mean, I don't have huge hands, but I mean, here's a battery. I don't have huge hands, but I mean, my hands are bigger. So it's definitely a little bit of a, I mean, it's like tying a cherry with your cherry stem with your tongue. You gotta line it up, and yeah. So, yeah. So she's done. I just got done putting the one battery terminal on. I'm about to walk over and do the other. This is tucked up enough, and this is tucked up enough. I'm just gonna go for a drive with it the way it is, because nothing can really get into any moving parts, and we're gonna make sure it works. And we'll get you that next. So I'm gonna power up the system, shut the hood, fire it up, and then once we know it all works, I'm gonna zip tie it all in, because I don't wanna have to undo zip ties if something doesn't work. That would suck. So, yeah, basically the only major pain in the butt was cutting that hole, because Ford, not cutting, but you know, slicing a little hole for that to slide through. Ford put one heck of a material of rubber. I don't know what kind of rubber that is, but that stuff is tough, and it doesn't want to move out of the way, and it's really thick. So it's a bear. I ended up making like a plus size notch so I could slide it through the middle. You know, I'm not gonna go sink this thing in water, so I'm not too particularly worried about doing it like that. Anyway, the rubber just totally conformed right around the wire. So, I mean, it's not watertight, but it's as watertight as the rest of the truck is. I mean, there's holes in it everywhere from having wires go through it, and, you know, manufacturing process and whatever. So I'm gonna button this up. We're gonna go for a spin, see how it goes. And good on you, Ford, for having a underhood light. That is one convenience that has been lost on modern cars. Thank you, Ford, for doing the right thing. All right, here's the moment of truth, guys. The truck definitely has power because the lights are on, because I have the door open. And we are about to fire things up. I got the key. It's inside the truck. This is literally the first time I'm about to touch the start switch. So I'm gonna put my foot on the brake. I need check engine lights. Sorry, the wheel's literally in the way. Yeah, I don't have tire pressure monitors. Ignore that. And the door's open. So, shut up. Turn on. We have no check engine lights. Okay. We also don't have the Banks thing on yet, so hold on a second. Let's see if I can push this in a little farther. Just push it in a little bit farther. Okay, so I just push it in just a touch farther, and we have data. Oopsies. I just hit turn signal. Ignore that. So it appears like we have informations. I don't have this fully tightened yet for some reason. I can't find the metric. So how does this work? Oops, SD removed. We don't want to do that. SD is in. Okay. Gauge layout. Whoopsies. Gauge layout. About 5 gauges. Engine coolant temp, load, battery, speed, RPM. That's cool. Derringer stock. Here, I haven't read the directions how to use the gauge yet, so. Gauge. So I want EGTs is what I'd love to see. Does it not have that? Hey! Other settings. Fuel crowd grade. Sorry guys, I'm learning with you here. Firmware update. I thought there was all kinds of data that we could get. Manifold air density. That's cool. Oh. Okay, I don't really care about fuel level. Density ratio, ambient gas, power, injection timing, that's interesting. Engine response rate. Engine reference. Sorry, I don't have it quite straight, guys. Fluid, regen, NOx, corrected, engine exhaust flow rate, O2 sensor, exhaust rack pressure. That's interesting. Oh wait, I just saw that. Exhaust temp bake 1 sensor. Ooh! Ooh, Hello, ladies. EGT. Okay, let's go. I need to tighten that up. That is annoying the crap out of me. Well, that's really cool. I'm going to get some things buttoned up, and then we're going to see how that... I'm so excited for this. Okay, I will see you guys shortly. Okay, guys, I'm like a little nerd in a candy store right now. So, we have... we have bank 1 and 2, left and right. EGT's up right now, those two bottom ones, and these are sensor 1, so I assume they're the highest sensor up. So yeah, we're gonna pay close attention to this because I'm really curious. And I'm also curious to watch this when it goes into regen. See, it's interesting. One side is really hot compared to the other. Well, not really hot, but 200 degrees hotter. Makes you wonder why. Who knows? Oh no, take that back. Sensor 1, sensor 2. Okay, so 400 degrees. I don't have it quite right. We need bank 2, sensor 1. Excuse me, I hit the wrong button. But that's okay. So that shows you the difference is a 200 something degree difference between the two sensors. It's interesting. So we're just on the stock, derringer setting. It's on a tune, but we're on stock right now, and I wanted to drive it for a minute and get it warm. I am literally so excited. This thing is so cool. There's like a whole bunch of different pages you can set up for custom pages. So I'll make one for like towing, and then one for like driving like a moron, and then one for like getting really good fuel economy. Like maybe put engine load on that to watch, that. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased about this. Installation really wasn't too bad, and I'm so happy right now. I don't even care about how much pain in the butt it was to snake that wire through that rubber boot. Like literally, now that it's done, who cares? Like, this is so cool. But I'm curious. Manifold Air Density, if I'm not mistaken, that's what that is. Boost seems to drive with this. That turbo boost gauge. I'll put, now that I have boost up here, I'm going to put my def over here, so I don't have to go over here to gauge view and then find the diesel exhaust fluid one. But no, I am so pleased. No check engine lights, no weirdness. Good job, Banks. Everything works. Did I zoom this in? Sorry, guys. You're gonna kill me now, and you have a right to. Yeah, so I am pretty pleased about this. I do want to see if I can feel any difference between the tune. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to read the directions before I change that. I thought there was something you needed to have the trains learned it or something. I'm going to read the directions before I go monkeying with the power level. But anyway, so far, all good. I'm just happy to have real gauges. You guys have no idea how happy I am. The gauges that Ford gave you are absolutely garbage, and that is really easy to see. So I'll put this about at my eye height and level. It's so simple. Like, not in the field. Like, I can see everything I need to see. It's not impairing anything. It's sitting right there at the right field of view. I can still use my grab handle for, oopsie daisy moments and for getting in and out of the truck. I'm literally so pleased right now. I can't even explain to you how happy I am. All right, I'm gonna keep playing with this, and I'll give you guys an update. But we are going to be, like, every video we're going to be talking about this thing because we're going to be watching the data and all that fun stuff. So thank you everyone for tuning in. I'll have more on the Derringer. I am so pleased. All right, see you guys later. Bye. Guys, I've probably put about 120 miles now on having the Derringer in the truck. And I really have a lot of extremely positive things to say. Having the gauges at ready sight, one of the things that I said one of the first videos I did was the things that I dislike about my truck. And one of the things that I was really, and I still believe, is that the gauges that are provided from Ford, they don't really help you all that much. You have to sift through. I mean, when you're towing a trailer or you're off-roading or whatever, you don't need to be going through menus to find different gauges. It should really be laid out. And Ford, if you have an engineer listening, you need to have all the important data and
the more the better, really, because the worst case is someone just doesn't look at the screen. If they're a goober that just wants to have a speedometer on the digital screen because they have a speedometer next to them and they can't read an analog gauge, then, who cares about them? But it would be really nice to have like engine coolant temp, trans temp, air intake temp. It'd be great. I don't know why you guys don't have EGT as one of the menu options. It's important, and people want, and anybody who knows anything about diesels wants to make sure their EGTs aren't going crazy, because it's a great indicator of something going wrong. For instance, a boost leak. I mean, you'd probably hear it, but maybe you wouldn't. But a boost leak, or an injector going bad, or injectors going bad, or something going on, EGT is really an important number. And I don't know why, as far as I know, no OEMs to have an EGT gauge displayed yet. All these new trucks have multiple. This truck has 4 EGT sensors or something on the road, not just cardboard. 4 EGT sensors. On that note, earlier in the video, when I was first learning how to use the Derringer, I was trying to get a Bank 1, Bank 2 upstream EGT. Now in this truck, the only available things are 4 total Bank 1. What I'm assuming is they have it labeled just, whatever. And I'm assuming it's just because there's a single, pipe coming back from the turbo. I'm assuming they don't have EGT sensors between the turbo and the manifold, or the head, really, because this truck is set up a little bit differently with it breathing through the valve covers, basically. And the exhaust ports are in the valley of the engine, as opposed to, for instance, a Duramax or like an older Powerstroke that had manifolds on the side of the motor and then had up pipes that went up into the back of the turbocharger. So anyway, there's 4 total, and I'm assuming it's 1 behind the turbo, maybe another one behind the cat, and then another one in front of the DPF, and then I'm assuming 1 behind the DPF. I'm gonna make a table or a gauge layout and do some driving with all 4 of them up at the same time and see if we can see some trends, because I think I would assume that there's 1 behind the turbo, 1 behind or in front of the cat, 1 behind the cat, and then 1 behind the, well, I guess maybe not. I think what I said first was more likely. Anyway, point being, I think this is an awesome unit. It very interestingly doesn't show a regen when you're in the non-Derringer pages that I've seen. However, in Derringer mode, as in the mode that shows you a bar graph with how much fuel is being added, or how much performance, I suppose, you're increasing. I suppose it's probably a terrible time to make a video because, towing a trailer and it's narrowing. But, probably let me tune back into you guys. Okay, guys, we're back. I'm going to splice the 2 of them together. It's just the right thing. Like I said on this channel, I want to try and be a positive role model. Making a video going through a construction zone is not being a positive role model, so I knocked that off, and now we're back without a construction zone. I'm not towing much of a trailer, just a stupid little yard trailer, but, so anyway, it does have a low fuel indicator. As you can you see the little yellow indicator at the top left? Yeah, I need fuel. The truck's telling me to. Just coming down to town. I have a dentist appointment, so gonna be hopping in the Fiesta, borrow the Fiesta of my dad's, and go to my dentist appointment. So I don't have to park this land barge at the dentist office. I love driving the little Fiesta. So I currently have up, which so far I really like. I have trans temp at the top. I have air intake temp, and I have boost next to that. And then I have EGT, the upstream EGT, which is currently reading 607, and then a trans slip in RPM. I don't really know how accurate that is. I live in Michigan, so we're not in California time zone. Banks opens at 8 o'clock, and I was going to call today at 11 and talk to at my 11, and approximately, obviously, I don't want to hit those poor guys when they're, just getting their first sips of coffee down. I wanted to ask them a couple questions just so I understood how accurate this stuff was, because I think this is really cool, and some of you guys are nerds, just like me, and I'm going to nerd out on this, because I really wanted to have the gauges, and now I do. I think that, in my opinion, having the gauges is freaking awesome, and let alone the fact that you have, power levels, that, I would have been happy if this thing just had gauges. But I can tell you, I've been using level 6 exclusively because there is a substantial power increase. In 4th gear, this thing flat out freaking pulls compared to, stock. So I think that Banks is... Are you going to merge, bud? I think Banks is right on with their thoughts. This is a fairly heavy truck, and the fact that I can literally feel a power increase in 4th tells me they're right on. I think it's 75 horse and 128 foot-pounds. You would need to check what I just said with your own research, and in further videos I'll look and see what they recommend. I didn't buy this for the power increase. The fact that it's here is excellent. I haven't noticed that it's regenning any more often, and I do really believe that I'm getting better fuel economy, and I think it's really because of me being in the higher power rating. I'm making more torque. You can see when you're in the derringer mode, and I'll make a video on like showing the derringer mode, showing it where it's increasing power. It definitely in mode 6 is increasing power at part throttle at low RPMs. At RPMs that matter for city driving and just for getting yourself going. And from what I've found, I mean, I'm only 26 years old, but I have literally hundreds of thousands of miles driving a relatively warmed up Cummins and my V10 that I've done a lot of stuff to. When you can increase torque at lower RPMs, you generally, and I can say this, I believe, more than generally, that fuel economy increases because you end up having to use less throttle to do the same amount of work, and you just really end up burning less fuel. And I think that that's the case here. When I was dinking around, when I was doing 50, the instant gauge was showing dang near 30 miles a gallon, and I believe that because I've had the truck almost 25,000 miles. I have checked this, the instant gauge, and I've checked the instant gauge leaving it on and seeing the average. An average is a pretty easy, thing to calculate. I have checked, first of all, the GPS is correct in terms of the speed. I use my Garmin GPS and the speed is correct on these tires, because these tires, even being 35s, are dang near the same diameter as the factory tires. What this truck says for average fuel economy is exactly what I calculated it to be. I think that they've got it nailed. They're no longer lyometers where they're full of garbage. My Cummins says, when I hand calculate when I'm driving slow, I'm really good at hypermiling. And if you're keeping it under 55 or 55 and down on the highway, the Cummins pretty easily can get 24, 25. And if you stay 50s, 26 is pretty easy to do in my Cummins. But the lyometer says it's getting 36. I know that's bullcrap. But hand calculated, it's definitely a 24 to 26 mile a gallon truck all day long if you keep the speeds down. It's a 20 to 23 mile a gallon truck if you keep it below 65 and you don't use heavy throttle. If you're going over 70, 75, you're down at 20. And if you're going over 75, like 77-ish, because you're getting into boost and the engine's pouring in fuel, you're down at 18.7 pretty consistently. If you use some amount of caution accelerating, you're going to burn the most fuel getting on it to get up to speed. So if you want to get good fuel economy, your goal is to tip in and to just let the truck let the torque do its thing. That's where you're going to get the best fuel economy. If you're pouring on the coal and or the corn, as some people say, you're really going to get poor fuel economy, because that acceleration going through all those gears at a high amount of load is just going to burn fuel. So if you want to get good fuel, that's why I'm saying these fuel economy numbers are me being, gentle on accelerating and holding a consistent speed and not feathering the throttle. Some people like, you know what I'm talking about? I haven't been on speed control. We've been doing the same speed this whole time. I definitely use speed control. We're going downhill right now, so we just sped up a mile and a half an hour. But point being, on flat ground, I can hold dang near 100% consistent speed. And that's where the fuel economy comes from. This truck, you can see our average. That's been pretty consistent for hard accelerations and stuff like that, and those outliers being driving slow for the 60 miles I put on yesterday when I was doing 50, just kind of sightseeing, looking for deer kind of thing, or just, you know, looking at wildlife in general. It's an outlier, and it's not going to change this. This average is probably 1,000 miles old, maybe. It's fairly old, but now I'm getting into decent traffic. But this is going to go on to the installation video, because I think it's important to have kind of a wrap up, and I need to get over. Thank you guys for tuning into the installation video. I had a lot of fun installing it, because it's the first real modification I've done to my truck, and it really has been a great reward. I freaking love it. The one little caveat I'm going to ask Banks about is sometimes when you turn it on, or you fire up the truck and the derringer turns on, or the data monster. So that's the data monster. The derringer's under the hood with the wiring harness. So the data monster sometimes doesn't get trans temp, which is right here at 196. Sometimes it double lines, and for some reason when it initialized, when it turned on, it didn't pick up the PID for trans temp. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not that annoying. It's just you have to shut the truck on and off to get it to, you know, initialize. It's kind of annoying. I'm going to talk to Banks about it and see if that's just weird happenings, or if there's maybe an update that could fix that. I don't know. But I'm going to figure that out. And again, thank you for tuning in. I really enjoy making these videos. I enjoy trying to help people, and I'm hoping to continue to do that, whether it be in the Cummins, in the powerstroke, or my excursion. I've had really good luck with my V10 excursion and things I've done to it, so we'll talk about that too, and other various, you know, nonsensical, poor financial decisions relating to trucks, like my 94 Chevy and my 02 Chevy, you know, that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping to continue to bring interesting and useful content, and I really just want to help educate people, because I really do see the questions that get asked, and there is a broad spectrum of knowledge, from anywhere from entry-level people wanting to learn to being mid-range, and there's honestly very few people with a whole lot of experience, and a lot of times they're kind of jerks and they don't really want to help anybody, and I consider myself to be relatively high experience in terms of knowledge about how engines work, transmissions work, trucks in general, how to upgrade them to do what you want to do. I consider myself to be fairly knowledgeable, and I enjoy helping people in those regards. So that's kind of the mission here, and I want to continue to do that because I really enjoy making videos, and I'm hoping to get this thing uploaded. And I'm sorry for taking a while to upload something, because of the whole Michigan lockdown nonsense and things being closed and whatever. I haven't had access to good internet because I've been weathering it at my cottage, and the internet there is less than poor. So I haven't been able to upload anything, and because stores have been closed until recently, bars just opened up and restaurants, and a lot of them don't have their Wi-Fi on because they haven't been paying or whatever. They haven't had their Wi-Fi on, I can tell you that. Whether they haven't been paying for it because of being closed, or if they suspended service for a couple months, I don't know what they did. I haven't been able to get good internet, so I'm coming down to the city, and I got some stuff I got to get done, and we're going to get some videos uploaded that I've been making. So thank you all, and thank you for supporting in terms of, you know, please like if you like it. Please leave me a comment if you like it or if you don't like it. I take criticism very well. If there's something you want to see, I'm not putting 22s or 24s with skinnies on this truck. I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. But if there's anything you want to see or whatever within reason, let me know, and maybe we can work toward that. Yeah. So, thank you, everybody. Bye.